I want to salute you, homie, for building your own thing and doing your own thing, creating your own platform, your own website.
I got one life to live out my dreams, and I'm giving this thing all I got. I interview celebrities. I talk sports. I represent the culture.
Right now, you're turning up on MrTaliaferro.com, shawty. Yeah!
All right, Alfred Talaferro, Mr. Talaferro TV. What's going on, everybody? What's going on? First and foremost, y'all know I don't be taking anything for granted. I don't know who y'all thought y'all channel y'all was on. Let me first by tell y'all, thank y'all for the love y'all been showing me. Thank y'all so much for the love that y'all been showing me. Our channel has been growing at an incredible rate. I'm shocked every time I look at it, just like you are. Thank y'all for the love. Happy holidays, man. Carmelo Anthony, a New York Knickerbocker, but for how long? You know what I believe? I do believe the Knicks are going to play this season out. The Knicks, outside of last night's debacle against the Cleveland Cavaliers, I have to admit this myself. Shout out to my dog, Steve. We went to school together. Shout out to my dog, Steve. He been on me about the Knicks. Even though I disagree with him on this point, I still believe the Knicks' best chance is to go through Kristaps Porzingis. That should be your number one option. And maybe Melo at 2, or maybe even go through D Rose at the second option. I don't think Melo or D Rose. I don't even know right now. I don't think either one of those guys should be the number one option. I think Porzingis is the best player on that team. I got to give him credit, right? He's a Knicks fan, and I want to salute the Knicks, man. They're off to a decent spot. Last time I checked, which was last night, I think they were in the top for the 4 seed since they lost that game in the Eastern Conference. They might be the 5 seed right now if the playoffs were to start today. In a good spot, man. The Eastern Conference is what the Eastern Conference has been the last 10 years. Pretty much worse than the West. The opportunities are there. If you can beat up on teams like Brooklyn, you got to think. If I'm New York, I play Brooklyn 4 times a year for the most part, 3-4 times a year. If you can beat up on teams like Brooklyn, Philadelphia, some of the bottom feeders in the Eastern Conference, you're going to be fine. If you can beat up on a team like Washington, take 3 out of 4 against a team like Washington. If you can beat up this year on Atlanta, if you can beat up on teams like that, take 2 from Charlotte, maybe get 1 from the Cavs, maybe get 1 from a team like the Celtics, or maybe get 2 from Boston this year. If you can get a couple from Toronto, if you can do that, you will be in a really good spot. All right, Miami's on a down year this year. This is what it is, all right? The Eastern Conference is what it is, all right? A lot of bad teams in it. A lot of great talent, just on a lot of bad teams spread throughout the league. With that being said, I want to talk Carmelo Anthony, all right? If the Knicks can make the playoffs and get past the first round, I'm pretty sure that the Knicks will retain Carmelo Anthony going forward, all right? I just want to put this in perspective. If the Knicks would have gotten off to a bad start this season, I do believe Carmelo would have been trade bait at the deadline, or they would have at least attempted to trade them. For those who don't know, Carmelo has this year and 2 more years left on his deal. No, I'm not reading off a teleprompter. Your boy will be remembering his stats. If I'm not mistaken, Carmelo's making $24.5 million this year, 26.2 next year, I think. And the last year's, I'm sorry, I got it. 24.5, 25.2 next year, and 26.9, something like that. 27.9. We're in the ballpark. Sorry, I get it. It's a lot. It's a lot of numbers that I'm remembering in my head. With that being said, it's tough to trade a Carmelo Anthony. So good thing they're off to at least a decent start. Hopefully they can keep it up going into the All-Star break. With that being said, I want to talk about the possibility of the Knicks trading Carmelo. And why are you bringing this up now? If they're doing good, why bring it up? I want to tell y'all this. Carmelo Anthony, I watched the press conference last night. Phil Jackson, a couple days ago, he said Carmelo Anthony holds the ball too long. He's not passing the ball enough in the triangle offense. Now, Jeff Hornacek, the coach now, and Derek Fisher have both told Phil Jackson the triangle offense will not work in this day and age. It just won't work. Different era. And to Phil Jackson's credit, he's won 11 rings with the triangle offense, all right? But also, Phil Jackson also had Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen for 6. And for the next 5, he had Kobe Bryant for all of them. And he had Shaq for 3, and a really, really good Pau Gasol, and a really good Lamar Odom, and a really good Andrew Bynum for 1 for the other 2 rings, all right? For one of the rings with Bynum in it. won without him. That's the facts of it. So I don't think Phil Jackson could even coach this New York Knicks team any better. And I don't think he wants to coach Carmelo Anthony and Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah. Maybe Noah, because Noah gives it all, but he ain't going to want to coach no damn Brandon Jennings. He'll get frustrated too quick. His knees will start bending, and he'll bend and fell out somewhere, all right? I believe that in my heart of hearts. But Phil was just basically saying Melo ain't passing the ball enough. And Melo took offense to that. So in the press conference yesterday, Melo was like, I ain't worried about that. And you could tell Carmelo's now fed up with him. I seen it coming a couple weeks ago because Carmelo chimed in on LeBron James and that Phil Jackson situation where Phil Jackson said LeBron had a posse, even though these are some of the most respected agents and managers in the NBA. Phil Jackson called him a posse. LeBron took offense to that. And Melo was like, Phil was wrong for saying that. Now, if y'all don't know what Phil Jackson's role is with the New York Knicks, he's the vice president of the team. It's very important. He's one of the people developing talent. He's the one that drafted Kristaps Porzingis. He's the one that's pretty much over a lot of things, pretty much the higher up on the GM. The GM answers to him. All right? That's his role. He makes $12 million a year in that role. A lot of people believe he's just collecting paychecks at this point. He ain't did a lot of stuff, even though I don't think he gets enough credit for Kristaps Porzingis. And you put Joakim Noah and Derrick Rose around Melo and Porzingis, it's a pretty good, decent team to me. I ain't going to lie to you. I got a pretty decent team. If they can all buy in, I think there's a chance this team actually has a chance to maybe not compete with Cleveland. They're not there yet. Yeah, as you seen last night. But I don't think it's too out of the norm to say competing for an Eastern Conference matchup with Cleveland. Maybe can play the Toronto Raptors 6-7 games. I think that's feasible. In the Eastern Conference semis and competing for Eastern Conference final spot. I think that's feasible. With that being said, I think Melo is done with Phil Jackson. Just the way he's been speaking about him, just kind of brushing him off. He's pretty much saying, I got a team to worry about. I ain't worried about that. And I think Phil Jackson is done with the Knicks. That's why I believe he's becoming more and more vocal on things he doesn't like. This is who Phil Jackson has been, but he's just coming out more and more now. I've always been a gossiper. That's one thing I haven't liked about Phil. He gossiped too damn much. He gossiped about Shaq and Kobe. He gossiped about Michael Jordan back in the day. He gossips too damn much, all right? With that being said, I got to respect the rings. Phil Jackson has earned the right to voice his opinion about basketball-related stuff. Now, when we talking about posses and LeBron James, I'm going to get offended about that. He ain't got no place talking about, number one, what LeBron James, somebody who isn't on his team, what he doing, and to be speaking about off-the-court issues. He ain't got no business doing any of that. But when we talking on the court, you get 11 rings, you win something 11 damn times, you earned the right. I don't care what you're doing. If you be the best at it for 11 damn times, you've earned the right to talk about it, all right? I'm just telling you, I believe Carmelo Anthony is done with Phil Jackson, and the Knicks have, after this year, they have an option on if they want to bring Phil back as that VP. And if they decide to do that, and the Knicks ain't making enough progress, if they digress a little bit by next trade deadline, I do believe Carmelo Anthony would possibly be traded if there is a team that's willing to pick up the back end of that $53 million that they're going to have to owe Carmelo. Well, they'll be halfway during the season. If a team's going to want to pay him the $13 million pretty much left in that season around trade deadline, and the $27 million that they'll owe him the following season. If there's a team crazy enough to pay Carmelo that, at that point he'll be, age 33, 34, something like that. If there's a team willing to pay him that, I think it's very possible that Melo will want to move on. And I'll tell you another thing that a lot of people don't know. He still wants to play with LeBron James. So at that point in age in LeBron James, I don't know. Depending on how the next season goes, who wins the championship, maybe you think about that. Or maybe you try to pair him up with Carmelo finally in Chicago. I don't know how that would gel with D-Wade. I'm sorry. Maybe you try to pair him up in Chicago with D-Wade. I don't know how that would work. D-Wade only has a 2-year deal, so maybe after that year, D-Wade will think about coming to New York. And the Knicks will have money then. So it all depends. A lot of things got to play out. But I think it's going to be key to see, do the Knicks extend Phil Jackson for another year after this year? Because I think Carmelo Anthony has had enough with Phil Jackson. I think Phil Jackson has had enough with the Knicks. I think he's just collecting that paycheck at this point. Very passionate guy. I just think it's the wrong job for him. You need to put Phil Jackson in a situation where he has the best player in the game. That's when he's the best. That's when he can put pieces around. He needs the best at something. It's just what the facts show. All right? I go by the name of Alfred Teleferro. You're currently tuning in to Mr. Teleferro TV. Do you believe Phil Phil Jackson will leave the Knicks, and do you believe Carmelo Anthony in the future, in the next year or so, maybe he'll think about leaving the New York Knicks as well? Talk to me in my comment box below. What do you think about the relationship between Phil Jackson and Carmelo Anthony? Thank y'all so much for your time. It's greatly appreciated. If you can tell, I'm doing just a little bit more basketball until we get to Christmas Day. Then I'm going to really hit it hard. Thank you for the time, love, and support. Salute. I'm out.